Have you ever worked so hard to build a system of security, only to realize that you've actually built a cage? Have you ever been so clever at outsmarting others that you ended up outsmarting your own future? Most of us spend our lives accumulating wealth, accumulating power, and even accumulating the principles we believe will protect us from the world's betrayals. But there's a painful truth that no balance sheet reveals: the ropes you're using to bind your rivals, your employees, or the market are often the very ropes that will tighten around your throat tomorrow. Do you dare look in the mirror and admit that your biggest enemy, the one currently holding your wallet, is actually the one strangling you? In the modern world, we call it risk management or establishing procedures. But if we look deeper, sometimes it's just a fancy name for fear and a craving for absolute control. The story of Vincent Thorne in London's financial centre is a vivid example of the tragedy of those who are too clever. Vincent wasn't just an investor, he was a master manipulator with the unwavering belief that, in this world, if you're not the one holding the rope, you're the one tied. He spent his entire youth building a sophisticated control network, where every contract was extremely tight, and every relationship was valued by legal binding. Vincent prided himself on buying obedience and believed it to be absolute security. He was like the farmer in the old story, who, fearing the loss of his ox, bought the best, strongest rope and wrapped it around his waist to lead it away. Vincent's biggest mistake, and the mistake of many of us, was believing that constraints could create loyalty. During the summer of his career-defining deal, Vincent spent millions of pounds drafting a harsh set of operating rules to monopolize the supply chain. He gloated over the secure legal ties he had just acquired, believing no one could escape his grasp. But he forgot a fundamental law of both physics and psychology: when you tie one end of a rope to someone's foot to keep them in place, the other end will always remain in your hand, and that rope will first restrict your own movements. You cannot make someone stand still without you stopping to hold the rope yourself. The shackles we create for ourselves begin to tighten as the world moves. Financial markets, like life itself, never stand still for us to control. When a technological crisis strikes, demanding flexibility and breakthroughs, Vincent's partners, those bound by outdated terms, are unable to change. They want to save the ship, but the very ropes Vincent used to control them now prevent them from acting. Vincent realizes a harsh truth: to keep his control net taut, he can't take his eyes off it for a single second. He has no time for creativity, no mind for love, because all his resources are focused on guarding those ropes. The tragedy culminates when the financial storm sweeps through. Vincent needs to sell off his assets to save himself, but ironically, the very anti-sell-off clauses he painstakingly established to deter his rivals now prevent him from completing the transaction. He struggles in a labyrinth of his own self-imposed rules. He spent a fortune buying the best ropes, only for them to ultimately become a noose tightening around his own survival. That's the true meaning of the phrase, buying ropes to tie yourself. We use our intelligence to create the most sophisticated shackles, and then we are the only ones trapped when everyone else has cut the ropes and left. Sitting in his empty office on the 50th floor, Vincent looked at the final contract on his desk and understood that true power doesn't lie in binding. Those he wanted to control had long since escaped through unexpected means, leaving him imprisoned only by his own arrogance. This is a valuable lesson for every leader, every CEO, and every individual aspiring to success. True power lies in liberation. When you create a system based on autonomy and trust, you don't need ropes. When you release the ropes of control, your hands are truly free to create greater value. Most of us are buying our own ropes every day in the most subtle ways. We buy huge debts to own things we don't need, then become slaves to work to pay them off. We set rigid rules to protect our egos, then become prisoners of loneliness. We build cumbersome business processes to control ourselves, then become victims of stagnation. We think we're buying security, but in reality, we're buying restriction. The difference between a dictator and a legend is an open mind. Never spend money on things that will limit your future growth. Don't build walls so high that you can't even see the sun. When Vincent lost everything to his creditors, he felt a strange sense of relief for the first time. No more ropes, no more burdens to hold on to. He walked out of the building empty-handed but with a mind freed from shackles. He started again by building bridges instead of ropes, fostering willingness instead of coercion. Sustainable success isn't a tightly sealed basket from which no one can escape, but rather fertile ground where everyone wants to stay and thrive. Perseverance and intelligence are only truly valuable when used to expand living space, not to narrow it down within restrictive rules. Don't let your intelligence become your enemy. Learn to let go of the invisible chains of fear and control before they become real shackles. So, I ask you one last time, what ropes are you painstakingly acquiring today? Are they security or a noose tightening around your neck? Are you using your power to build a launching pad, or are you weaving a net to imprison yourself? Remember, life truly begins only when you are brave enough to cut all the ropes of pride and walk on your own 2 feet of freedom. The sweetest rewards are not for those who bind the most people, but for those who have the courage to free themselves and those around them from the shackles of mediocrity.